Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. So, this is our workshop presentation. Can everyone hear me okay? You're good? Great, thank you. This is with MAIF and partnership with the Washington State Department of Commerce. This is the Small Business Innovation Fund, so thank you for being here. The first slide we have for you here is a pre-survey. So if everyone could pull that up, some of you might have to walk forward just a bit to be able to get that on the screen. If you have the slide deck in front of you, you can also click the link. And we'll also be having the slide deck for you later, so if you need the slide deck, you can also access that at the end. So this is the technical assistance team. There are a lot of benefits here with this program, this grant. We are here to help you with various multiple things. We are the website and search engine optimization team, but you can also get a lot of help with business planning, business finance and taxes, working in retail and hospitality, general business questions. You can email Mohammed. So you can get all that information right there. So there's quite a few grants out there for everyone. So you have the opportunity to get $4,000 reimbursed. So if anyone needs extra help, I would strongly suggest that you apply for this if you haven't already. And this would allow you to be able to get further assistance, whether you need us to do more one-on-one consulting, or we could even help you with a project, with a website project, with that $4,000 reimbursement. So please make sure you apply for this. And there will also be options for one-on-one technical assistance. So there's some sign-up sheets up front here. So if you want to do a one-on-one consultation for free, please make sure you sign up. So if there's anything that's confusing or anything along those lines, don't hesitate to sign up for that. All right, so first off, here's today's agenda. We're going to start off with introductions here in a moment, but we're covering three main topics. So cybersecurity, building and marketing your website, search engine optimization, or SEO, and then we're going to have time for questions and answers after. And we have quite a bit to go over today, so if you have any questions, please note those down, and we can get to those after the presentation. So my name is Connor Talbot. I am the lead instructor today. I build websites, and I do SEO, so search engine optimization. That's what I specialize in. I've been doing that for about 8 years now. And then next to me here, I have Cody Wickman, and he is a full-stack web developer and consultant. He is today's cybersecurity instructor. So he is right here on my left. And then on the far side of Cody there, we have Winston Smith. He is a front-end web developer, and he also does search engine optimization. So Winston Smith is on the end. And he will be covering more of the website building, such as using Wix. All right, so we're going to get right into the first topic here. I have Cody coming up, and he will talk to us about cybersecurity.
All right, great. So yeah, again, my name is Cody Wickman, and I'm going to be covering cybersecurity. This is essentially the essentials of cybersecurity that everyone should be following. So there's many different levels of cybersecurity. When you get into it, depending on the size of your business, your needs are going to grow. If you're a small business or an individual, they're going to be simpler. And we're going to go over the basics of things that you're going to want to do just at a minimum level to make sure you're providing enough security for your business and your data and how you work with your customers and beyond. So the big concern with cybersecurity is always to protect your business from losing money, because the ways that you can lose money from different cyber attacks is if they're going to go after your data, they're going to go after your clients, they're going to try and bring your systems down, And all of these things contribute to costing you money at the end of the day. There might be some sort of ransomware attack where they where they get into your systems and they lock you out, either through encrypting your data or taking over your credentials, and then force you to pay them in some way to get access back to your systems. So we're going to be looking at how to prevent those types of attacks from happening. So the first thing that everyone, I know it's not very exciting because everyone's dealt with passwords and they deal with passwords on a day-to-day basis, but we want to get into that first. Passwords these days are not very secure by themselves, so we always want to use multi-factor authentication. Who here uses, I can just see a show of hands, multi-factor authentication on a day-to-day basis for any of their essential things, either banking or their mobile devices? Or does everyone just use passwords? Anyone? No. Okay. So multi-factor authentication is going to be when you have things like using SMS messages to authenticate. So somebody, when you sign into a website or sign into an application, like your banking application, you're going to get an SMS message so that you can verify who you are to log into that system. Now, it's good to use those because passwords themselves are very easy to crack. Password leaks happen all the time these days. And so to prevent that, you want to use some other form of authentication or an additional layer of authentication, all the way down to biometrics. So moving on to the next item here, you want to also try and keep your, you want to prevent reusing your passwords because password leaks happen regularly. And once your passwords get out there, people can get access to your infrastructure, they can get access to your websites, your domains, your banking, and that can all be problematic. Even if you only use a few of these things, anyone getting access into your banking systems are always going to be an issue, or into web servers or any other aspect of your business. Let's see. And then one final item I'd like to touch on passwords is sending passwords via email. So a lot of the time when we're working with colleagues, especially as people have moved to the remote working environment, passwords are sent, user credentials are sent through email, and sometimes it's banking info sent through email, credit card numbers, things like that. Emails are inherently insecure. A lot of that information is archived by your mail service. It's indexed so it's easily searchable. It gets shared, forwarded, and replied to, which means that all of that information just gets locked up in there. And the moment somebody gets into your mail server, somebody gets into your email account, the first thing they do is they search for passwords that have been sent. So a good way to avoid that sort of problem is to go on and maybe you can send the username through the email and then have the password sent in a different way. Either you can communicate it by voice, or you can send it in a separate SMS message, or through another channel. But you always want to separate them, and at all costs try and keep passwords out of email. Okay. So here we have a password exercise. So I'm going to walk you through it real quick. You can go to this site. This is a password checker by Kaspersky, and you can type in a password there. It's very secure, and it'll tell you the strength of your password when you do that. I'll let you. And so I'm going to give you a quick example of a good way to have a password, because it's really easy to get caught up in using simple passwords that are only, one word that you know, and then you find yourself reusing that. A good way to come up with a stronger password that's going to be much more useful to you is to use like a phrase. In my example here, I said, green horses from Texas. It doesn't mean anything, but it's easier for you to remember. So I can remember green horses from Texas. And then you want to add some numbers to that password, add another capitalization, remove the spaces, and add special characters. And all of these things, what you're doing is by having that long password and having those capitals, numbers, punctuation, is you're making it significantly more difficult for someone to crack your password in the event of a password leak. And password leaks happen all the time. But usually when those password leaks happen, they happen in plain text, or not plain text, they happen in a way where it can be searched through a database. So it's already hashed. But cool. All right, I'll let you do that real quick. Moving on to the next slide. So another type of security attack, or the more common one that we encounter these days, are phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are where someone in your organization, maybe you, maybe someone else, gets an email or some other form of communication. It could be an SMS text. It could be a voice call from someone who seems like they are somebody you should be dealing with. And they'll be asking you for private information or email. More common ones are saying, hey, come reset your password on Microsoft.com. And so that seems legitimate, but you click on it, and then you go and you say, oh, I need to reset my password. There's been a security thing. And it takes you to what appears to be a Microsoft portal. But in fact, it's not. It's a fake portal, and now you've entered your password and given away your credentials to someone. You want a way to prevent that from happening is to have the two-factor authentication, so that even if you accidentally give away your password, there's still a way for you to recover that. They won't be able to log in just because they have your password if you're using a form of multi-factor authentication. Another sort of phishing attack, and I've seen this become more prevalent, is spear phishing attacks. So a spear phishing attack is a fancy way of saying they did some research. They went on LinkedIn, they figured out who you are, they figured out who the CEO is, they figured out who the financial officer is, and now they're going to create an elaborate, really similar email of somebody who works at your company, and they're going to make it look like the CEO is sending you a letter, or maybe you're the CEO and they're going to send your CFO or whoever's in charge an email saying, hey, we haven't paid this bill yet. Can you send transfer over to this company that we're working with to pay it? And oftentimes, in that case, if you don't catch it immediately, by the time you realize it's fraudulent, it's already too late. So a good way to kind of prevent those things is always be paying close attention. And you'll see examples in this link right here of different types of phishing attacks and ways to identify a fake message. Usually there's telltale signs where it looks just a little bit off, or the email address it's coming from is wrong. So you have to just be careful. And if you're ever in doubt, because these phishing attacks are becoming more sophisticated all the time, to the point where people will break into, maybe you have deal with a client directly and you have an ongoing business with them, and somebody in that other business that you currently work with, you have a legitimate relationship with, has accidentally leaked their passwords to somebody else. And so this outside actor has access to those accounts. So they will send you an email from them, so they'll log into their accounts, and they'll send you a legitimate email saying, hey, you know that work you had us do, we haven't received a payment for that yet, so here's the invoice, could you please pay that? And so it's a very direct and very specific type of attack that's happening currently in the web through phishing. Okay, so, and I do want to touch on this a little bit. So another thing, it used to be really a really trustable source to have a voice call with somebody that you know or have a loose relationship with, but with the prevalence of some of the new methods for phishing and with these advances in AI, voices have become very easy to fake. So you have to take even more precaution, even if you're getting a voice call or an SMS message or an email. So it's just something to keep in mind. Usually a good way to avoid those sorts of phishing attacks is to, if you have a known phone number for someone or email address, make sure you just email them back and confirm. Or if you receive a strange bill, go back through the normal channels. So you might have received a bill, just don't follow the numbers that are on that bill, because those might be fake. Go through the normal web portal for that service and call their customer care and see. If that's just something, it's probably not going to happen. But when it does, it'll be like, I'm not expecting this. This is a really strange conversation I'm having or a strange build that I'm having, and just take pause and think about it and try and see if anything looks just out of place. And if anything looks out of place, try to verify with that person directly through your normal channel of communication. Okay. So for small businesses, and most businesses actually, the biggest threat is actually going to be malware. So malware is relatively easy to kind of head off, but it's one of those things that once you have a malware problem, it's kind of a bad time. Malware can range from like viruses to worms. It's basically any sort of computer infection. And the most common one for small businesses, 20% of cases, is actually ransomware. Ransomware is where they've managed to gain access to your system or your servers or like your cash register system, whatever you use for your business, maybe it's your laptops, and they've locked you out of that system by changing your passwords, encrypting the data, to the point where everything you have for your business has become inaccessible to you. And they'll say, it's still there, all of your data is still here, however, you're going to have to pay us a fee to get that back. And that's not really a situation you want to be in, because even if you pay that fee and they give you that data back, that's not really saying that they can't infiltrate your system again, and that doesn't mean that they won't pass that on to someone else to infiltrate it. Luckily, those sorts of attacks are easy to mitigate through a couple things we'll go over in a second, but it is something that I've seen happen to a number of businesses before, and it is something that can affect you, and it's really bad because then you're facing downtime, you can't do your business, your customer data is at risk, and the only way for you to get back into working is by paying this ransom. It's just not a position you want to be in, but it's easily avoidable. So to prevent this sort of problem, to prevent this sort of ransomware, the easiest first step you can always take is to just keep backups of your systems or of your databases if you have them, and keep them isolated. A lot of the things we do now are in the cloud through services. Those you don't have to worry about as much, but it's always a good idea, no matter what service you're using, to keep backups of things, because you can get locked out for a variety of reasons, but especially in the case of ransomware attacks. So keeping a backup of your data, isolated preferably, either keeping it in a different service, a different like cloud service, or having a physical backup that's not connected to the network at all, and keeping that regularly updated. So in the event that somebody gets into your system and tries to ransom it back to you, you can just say, no, I'm just going to go back to my backup. And then you're on your feet again, and you don't have to worry about this infiltration. Let's see. So other things you can do to prevent malware are going to be, beyond doing backups, is, the most important thing you should do, and this is the thing that gets neglected, and I see it across the board, and even in the case where I'm working with a client in something that's not security related necessarily, they're having us do some maintenance. They're asking me, hey, I know it takes time, and we want to just keep the price low to only update a few things. We just want to update these three, like, I'll give you an example. On a website, there might be a variety of different tools they're using, and they only want to update 3 of them because they're on a budget. Well, that is a very dangerous thing to do, because all of those individual things for your website might all have security patches that have been released in those updates. And if those updates are free, you should absolutely just update your software as soon as possible so you can prevent yourself from being vulnerable to those security attacks. Because remember, once they've patched that hole in that software, that's now public information. So if you have a website with like a plugin in it, and they've fixed a bunch of security flaws in it, well, the fact that there was a security flaw, because they had to put it, tell people, hey, we fixed it, now people know that's actually broken. So you're at a very high risk of being attacked. Well, in the event somebody tries to attack you, you're at a very high risk of them being able to get in if they can identify they're using this software and it's out of date. Oh, well, I can just use known methods. I don't have to come up with anything. I can just essentially go look it up, and get into your site. So easily avoidable. Just keep your software up to date, update your computer, update your tools. Just keep it patched. It's really easy, but it's one of those things that people just don't like doing. The next thing is, depending on the size of your business, this may not apply to everyone, but using the principle of least privilege. As in, imagine you have a company with 5 employees, and one of them is, maybe he's an intern or something like that, or maybe you have a secretary. They don't necessarily need to be involved in all of the things that are finance related. Maybe you're small, so everyone's kind of on the same axis, everyone just has everything in like one place. But the risk with that is if those people who are not supposed to be in charge of like finance have their credentials leaked or their systems get infiltrated with a virus, especially with us all working remotely, it can be really challenging. But if somebody, not unintentionally, they just get their systems infected, it's very easy for somebody to get in there and then cause havoc on your business. So trying to follow principles where you're only giving people access to the things that they need, so in the event that something happens, the damages are minimized. And then finally, this is less important. It depends on the size of your business, but you may want to opt, if you are running a team of people or more, to have commercial antivirus and firewall solutions in place. So computers these days are Windows and MacBooks. They already have firewalls and antiviruses built in. So if you're just doing your own thing with you and you're just one person, you probably don't need to worry about it. You have like a very good consumer-grade antivirus and firewall. But as your business grows and you have more employees, it's a really good idea to consider investing in something like a commercial antivirus. That's something I'd strongly recommend. Usually they come as a suite of tools, but that allows you control over saying that your other employees' computers need to have antivirus, and that needs to stay on all the time. And some of the advantages of those suites is if that device gets stolen or lost, oftentimes they provide you the ability to remotely wipe those computers too. So it just adds a lot of security as your business grows. I'd strongly recommend considering commercial solutions for antivirus and firewalls. But if it's just you already have those things, so it's not, I wouldn't put it at the top of the list. Just keeping your software up to date and keeping good backups is absolutely the minimal that I would do. The last point I want to touch on here is encryption. So these days, it used to be that older Windows computers and older MacBooks, we didn't used to encrypt everything. So if you're on an older version of Windows or on an old MacBook, there's a good chance that that device is not encrypted. If you're running on something newer, most newer software, those hard drives are encrypted by default now. So that if that device is stolen, if somebody gains access to that device, it's a little bit more protected. Now, if anyone gets access to a device, then you should worry about that, and it's a good idea to have a solution like a solution where you can remotely wipe that device. I'm not sure if Windows has one by default, but I know that they do include those sorts of features in those commercial like antivirus suites, and I believe MacBooks you can remotely wipe them pretty easily. But it's just something to keep in mind that if you're in a situation, especially if you're traveling or you use something remote, you should consider getting a solution in place so that if your device is stolen or lost, you have a way to destroy the sensitive data or consumer data that's on that device. The last parts here are a really simple one, actually. So if you're visiting a website and if it has this little lock on it, that means that it is HTTPS, and that means that it is sending information between you and that website encrypted. You don't have to worry about that too much these days if you're using a modern browser, because they are really, really insistent on you using HTTPS, so it'll pop up a little warning that you're not. But just keep in mind that if you're ever on a website that is just HTTP and is giving you a little warning and saying, hey, this site's not encrypted, you probably don't enter any information to that site because that is not encrypted. And very likely in the case of malware or phishing attempts, a lot of those phishing websites are not encrypted. They didn't bother encrypting them. So it's a telltale sign that you're in a place you do not want to be. And then finally, this is a big question I get a lot about VPNs. Should you have a VPN? A VPN is a virtual private network. And you see a lot of advertisements for these days for a bunch of different brands. But the question is, do you need one? And the answer is, it kind of depends. And if you are working from a private network, your home network, your business network, you don't need one. If you're running around on a laptop, you're connecting to different Wi-Fi connections, you're using, anything that's remotely public. And when I say public, I don't mean no password. I mean anything that other people that you do not personally know have access to, you should be using a VPN. And the reason why is because that establishes an encrypted connection between you and whatever service that you're trying to access. The way that networking works is essentially as if your computer's on a network, typically it's able to see all of the traffic happening on that network. It's not usually, it's more that it's neglecting to read that traffic that's happening on that network. So if we're all three on Wi-Fi right now and I was to open up a tool to just see what he's doing on his laptop, that's not, I can capture all that data, and it might be a jumbled mess, but if I'm really insistent and I'm really specifically targeting him, and I follow him to a coffee shop and I'm saying, but usually they're not targeting you specifically, they're just sitting in a coffee shop or a hotel, they can just sit there and basically vacuum up all your web traffic and then put it together afterwards and figure out what's going on. So you can completely avoid that problem altogether by just using a VPN service if you travel or if you use public Wi-Fi connections. But yeah. And then this final page is just a resources page. I didn't go into all of these. If you would like to try out this, this QR code will take you to a site on our page that has all of these links. This top link here is an IBM cost of data breaches report for 2001. It's really interesting. It just gives you statistics mostly, but it'll tell you things like the average cost per record. I think it's $163. So if you have a database of records being users, right, you have 200 users, the average cost in a data breach for you per record is about $163. So $163 times 100, 16 grand is quite a bit of money. That's just the average cost. Could be more, could be less for you, but it's just interesting data about data breaches. There's 2 more pages about statistics for data breaches. These bottom 3 links, the first one is the Kaspersky password strength checker. It's really cool. It'll tell you if the password you come up with if it's good or if it's bad. It'll also run your password that you type in, again, a check against the database that tells you whether or not that password specifically has been leaked through data breaches. This next link here is the ftc.gov. This is a guidelines for business for data breach response. So in the event that you have a data breach, there are guidelines for what you're supposed to do in response to that. And finally, this is a link that we had earlier, which is the phishing examples. So that'll give you a good idea. I recommend looking at that because it'll give you a good idea of what to look for. But yeah, that covers it. Any questions? I would wait till the end. We do have a sign-up sheet for technical support. Please, if you have questions, fill that out. We are going to try and take some questions at the end, but we're happy to provide extra help afterwards and do one-on-one sessions.
Sure. Wait. All right, so we are on to section 3 of this presentation, and that is building and marketing your website. So, who here has a website already? Raise of hands. We got one person at the website back there. Now, who still needs to build a website for their business? Ah, okay, great. So this will be a useful presentation for you then. So the first thing that you have to figure out is what website builder are you going to use? There are tons of different options out there. Here's some more of the popular ones. We have Wix, I'm sure some of you have heard that, Squarespace, WordPress, and Webflow. Now, some of these are more do-it-yourself, and some aren't. So WordPress here in the bottom left-hand corner, that can get pretty complicated pretty fast. So if you want to do your own website, then you might want to do Wix or Squarespace. Those are two pretty good options if you want to build your own website. Wix is really nice because they have a lot of different apps you can connect to. So you can send emails and that type of stuff from there as well. So it's a very all-in-one solution, Wix is. And Winston's going to be sharing more about Wix right now.
All right, thank you, Connor. So I have a question. Actually, here's a statement. If you were to Google, how long does it take to build a website? The top answer will be 150 to 500 hours. Is that true? I don't know, but it's the top answer on Google. So one of the ways that we can cut down on that is by using a template web builder like Wix. And let's just get the costs out of the way real quick. So Wix, if you're looking to build a website for your business, Wix is a great affordable way to do that. The hosting per month is $29 a month if you pay for the year. If you want to pay monthly, it's around $35 after tax. So that's a monthly hosting payment to have your website online with Wix. And if we're asking who's Wix good for, it's nearly everybody. The reason why is there's pre-made templates. So you can go through, there's tons, and you can choose something that matches your business. And if you want to create your own website and do it yourself, you can do that. Or if you want to hire someone to build it, because there's pre-built templates, it costs a lot less than having to build your website from scratch. So Wix is a great option. It also has an intuitive design process, meaning again, either there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube, so you can edit your own website, or if you outsource it or have someone else build it, usually it cuts down on the overall cost and time to build. Another reason, there's tons of business solutions. Email marketing comes with Wix. There's different plans. Now you might have to upgrade your plan. You have to make sure you have a business solution, which is what that price was we started at, that $33 a month. But you're able to do email marketing. You're able to have subscriber forms right on your website so people can start signing up and you're collecting emails. E-commerce, there's full e-commerce options. You can have shops and listings, and it's very easy to upload pictures and set prices and to set shipping. Wix is a great option for that. And there's also extra business integrations. If you're looking to integrate MailChimp or Shopify, whatever your solutions may be, you can search and there might be some options for you that can help you expedite your website. Again, this is going to be available, this PDF will have a QR code, so you'll be able to have access to this. But this right here will take you to Wix and it'll get you started. Now we're going to get into just some website design fundamentals. So if you're building your own website, or maybe you already have your own website, here's some things to take into consideration that'll really help you from the get-go. Here's another fun fact for you. It takes less than 1 second for someone to decide whether they want to stay on your website or leave. And we like to think of this as a 5-second rule. So within the first 5 seconds, people are going to take a look at your homepage, what they land on, and they're going to decide if they're going to stay or if they leave. So we're going to cover some things that can help get people staying on your homepage. So let's first take a look at this example here. Kind of tough to see from the back probably, but basically it says introducing timeless moving. This little subheader says top quality guaranteed, and then here's just a big old chunk of writing. So if someone lands on this page, they're probably going to decide pretty quick, well, I'm out of here. Why would they do that? Because it's pretty difficult to understand what this page is about. Does anyone want to shout out what they think this website is about? What do you say? Exactly. It's very difficult. So here's an example if we clean things up a bit. Timeless Moving, your local moving company in Dallas-Fort Worth. Subheader, professional Texas moving service. So right there, we want to tell people within that first 5 seconds what your website's all about in a very short, concise headline title. If you are a local business, add the location. Also, call to action. Let's have the call to action. These are 2 buttons here. So a call to action is something that allows people to click and it takes them to the page that you want them to go, whether it's products, services, maybe you want them to sign up or call. It can be a button that takes them to your phone number or contact page. Call to actions are extremely important, and you want this right on the viewable home page right here, right when someone comes onto the page. So that's a best practice if you're getting your home page ready. Here's a couple of examples of home pages that are hard to understand. This right here, this subheader, it's really difficult to read, even on a normal computer screen. It's difficult to read. It doesn't stand out or pop from that background. So this would be one instance of a poorly designed or unclear home page. Here's another example, and this one we focus on the menu. So usually your home page is going to have that menu up at the top. This menu here is pretty dark. It's a pretty dark menu. Like if we were to turn these, if we were to turn the text into white, then it would really stand out. So we want to have that contrast. And that's just good to know on the website as a whole. So we're gonna continue on. So all on your homepage, some things to convey to keep people on there are your services. If you showcase what your services are that you offer in short, succinct, these are just basically bullet points. What it's there, it's just to capture the attention. If you want people to stay on that page, capture their attention by offering or showcasing the services you're offering, and word them in certain ways that will keep people on the page. For instance, flexible pricing options, single item delivery, college moving services, right? They're kind of varied enough where people might see one or the other and they'll be like, oh, that's what I want and need. And then also, call to action. Always be having your call to actions below these sections on your homepage. Don't be afraid to put a button multiple times on your homepage, taking people to the same contact form. Another, user benefits. Put yourself in the user's shoes when you're writing. We like to show off what we're doing, what are our services, what we're good at, but put yourself in their shoes. Try and convey things and tell them straightforward, like this is what you're getting out of it. It's pretty difficult to read, but on here, heavy items experts, we specialize in moving heavy and valuable items. So you don't have to worry about injuring yourself during your move. That's a benefit. So, also, call to action. Always have that call to action on there.
Great, thank you, Winston. There are lots of considerations when building your website, and that's a very brief basics of what you should do. Now we're going to go more into how do you market your website. So marketing channels for your website. How can you get people to your website now that you have one? So the first one is Google Ads, and I'm going to touch on these here just a bit. But there's Google Ads, there's social media, you have Facebook, those types of things. But a really important question to ask yourself is, where do your customers go? Are your customers on Facebook? Well, if they are, go make a Facebook page. If they're not on Facebook, why are you wasting your time there? There's other channels as well that we're not going to really go into today. We don't have enough time, but there's email marketing that is very important. Always be collecting your clients' and customers' emails so you can email them later. Maybe you can have a sign-up form on your website like Winston showed earlier. There's also affiliate marketing, and affiliate marketing is basically you have a web page and you maybe write about some other person's product. So you write a nice blog post about some other person's product, and you have a link that takes people to that other website. And that link tracks people. So when someone clicks that and they go over to the other website and they make a purchase, you get money for that. So I haven't really done that before, but that is another potential option for you. Text messaging. So can you text message your customers? There's tools out there that will let you do that. And then there's influencers. Can you hire a famous person to make a Facebook post about your website, about one of your products or services? And then there's search engine optimization, or SEO. And we're going to go into that in more detail here in a bit. But first, we're going to go ahead and touch on Google Ads. So I'm sure some of you have seen this before, but on Google, when you do a Google search, you can see this sponsored there. So the way this works is that this company here, this link, this is GetBlend. GetBlend is paying Google for traffic to their website. So every time someone clicks on this link, this company pays Google about $2.06, very roughly. I've seen some of these clicks cost as much as $100. So if your service is maybe like buying houses or selling houses, that word is a very high demand. And so sometimes every click could cost a business a lot of money. So, but this could be one solution if you can target specific keywords or phrases that are used. And you can see I put the volume here of this one. So Arabic Translation Services has a monthly search volume on Google of about 880 per month in the United States. So how can you get in front of that? So as I mentioned, Google Ads, they cost you money per click. If you want to put yourself at the top of the search results, every single click is going to cost you money. It could be 50 cents, or if you really want to be ambitious and have some harder services or more popular services, it could be pretty expensive. You need a little bit of budget for Google Ads. You might have to spend about $250 a month or so. You can go lower, and I would even recommend decently higher. But you have to experiment. Sometimes it might not work out. Sometimes you have to change your strategy for how you want to use Google Ads. And nice things about Google Ads is you can set your budget so you don't have to worry about spending too much. You can only spend $250 a month, for example. You can also target search terms or keywords like I showed you. So if you have a very specific service, you can tell Google that whenever someone types that in, you want to show your website up in those sponsored positions. And you can also target locations. So if you're a local business, you don't want to target New York. You don't want to waste money over there for those clicks. You want to target just a local hyper area that you are at. Is anyone a nonprofit? Any nonprofits? No? Okay. So there is a Google Ads grant, and Google will give nonprofits a $10,000 per month Google Ad spend. So if you know anyone that has a nonprofit, you might want to mention that to them. Okay, now we touched on Google Ads. Let's go over to social media. So, and the common one here is Facebook, of course. Now, there's free and paid ways to target on Facebook. Free, let's just touch on a couple of those. So paid ads on social media can be complicated, and you're spending money. So it's gone much harder over the years to run ads on Facebook. There's a lot of red tape and all that type of stuff. And then there's your free posts, typically don't get much engagement, and they are time consuming to do well. So you have to be careful with using some of these channels. Avoid the hype. So if you do some Google searches and you're trying to decide on what social media platform you're going to use, you might come across the article that says, oh, Facebook is the best marketing channel for your website. But we have to be careful with that, because the people that write that content are making money trying to get you to buy their service or product for their services. So you have to be really careful. If someone says that this is the best way to send traffic to your website for low cost, you just want to be cautious, because a lot of those people make money from those articles that you find on Google. I would recommend you only focus on 1 to 3 different marketing social media channels. You don't want to make a social media channel, you don't want to make a Facebook page, for example, and not post anything for 3 years. If one of your potential clients or customers really likes to use Facebook to look at businesses, and they go try to find your business, and they see that you haven't posted anything for 3 years, are you still in business? So you want to make sure that you make a post every now and then if you are on those channels. And it can be pretty time consuming, so I recommend you focus on a smaller amount. And again, where are your customers is a huge question. If you are selling flowers, for example, maybe Pinterest, where you can take a bunch of photos of all your flowers and put those up on there. Instagram might be another option, but there's tons and tons of social media channels. And so you really need to think about, before you choose some or one, what channel are your customers on? So at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing: how much money you're making on those channels. And this is called return on investment. And this is a very simplified version of that. But is your return divided by your cost of channel, is that positive? To sum it down, or to summarize it, for every dollar you spend on one of these channels, are you making at least $1.01? If you make less than $1, then you're losing money on that channel. So for every dollar, you want to make at least $1.01. And now we're on to the search engine optimization part of the presentation. I will start things off, and then Winston has some slides in this as well. So first of all, what is search engine optimization? We talked about Google ads, but search engine optimization is getting in those free positions. So first, let's go ahead and define it here. So improving your website to encourage Google and other search engines to show your website more often and higher up in the search results. So this is what some of the organic free results look like. So people aren't paying Google for these clicks. So you want to make sure that your business is here. And to get this type of listing with the map like this is called Google Business Profile. So you want to make sure that you set up your Google Business Profile. It's free, it's fairly straightforward to do, but highly recommended if you want to get those reviews, if you want to get have your star on the map here. And sometimes you'll see on the search results a nice, beautiful thing on the right, and I wish I would put an example in here, but it's definitely one thing that you want to get up and going. Here's another example of one of the free listings. So they are not paying Google. This is free. But the question, oh, here's the meta title. So there's the title, and here's the meta description. That's what those are called. So how does Google judge your website? How does Google decide where to put your website compared to your competitors? Because obviously you want to be listed before your competitors. So there's a lot of different ways. And first we're going to touch on web page load times. And let's go ahead and just jump right into this example here. So let's say you have two nearly identical websites. So you have a website over here and you have a website over here. Now they have the same content, they sell the same products, they've been around in business for about the same time. But now if these are these similar websites, how does Google decide which one to send traffic to? So we have a fast one that loads fast, so when someone goes there, the page loads and you see the content, and you have a really slow one. So now, here's the question. What website would Google rather send visitors to? Well, the fast website. That provides a better user experience, and that's what Google is all about. How can you make your website provide a good user experience, have good content, so Google will want to send people to your website versus your competitors? So, and let's take a look at an example of how we can do this. So one method for improving the load time of your website is reducing the file size of your images. So over here, I was in San Francisco and I took this image. I mean, you can tell there's a difference. Oh, I think this side's a lot of focus. But anyway, so we have an image here, image here. Now this image, they're the same image, but the file size is dramatically different. They look the same to the user, even though that side of the screen's a little blurry. So the file size of this image on the left is over 11,000 kilobytes. That's huge. That takes a while to load for any browser. But over here, it's the same image, and if you can look on a normal screen, they look the same. But this one's a fraction of the size. So again, which one would Google rather send traffic to? A good user experience or a bad user experience? Yes. And so, one tool you can use to optimize your images, it's pretty easy, straightforward to do, but it's called Optimizilla. I can't even say it. And here's the URL right here. And so I suggest that you improve the file sizes of your images. And keep in mind, you'll get copies of the slide deck at the end, so you'll see that link. So if there's anything you want to review. And I'm also a good time to remind you that if anyone needs any help, one-on-one help, to make sure you sign up, we can do a Zoom call, and we can show you some specifics about what your website could need in terms of SEO or anything we've talked about today. But the load times are just one factor for SEO. This one's important. This is EAT. So EAT stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. So would Google rather send traffic to a trustworthy website, or would Google rather send traffic to a website that has a bunch of misinformation? Google doesn't want to mislead users, so you want to make sure everything you have on your website, for example, is trustworthy. Now, there's other things we can do, and this is more of a website design sort of a part of it. But one thing you do to add trust to your website is you have Google reviews. Can you add this image to your homepage that says, hey, look, I have this many Google reviews, and Google says I'm excellent. And you can even put individual reviews on your homepage. Scatter them throughout your homepage. Add the number of years you've been in business. So if you've been in business for 8 years, that might make you stand out a little bit more than the person that just started. Especially if you've been in business for like 40 years. That looks really good. So add those number of years to your website. And add badges as well. So are there people you partner up with where you can add a badge? Can you add the MAIF logo to your website saying that you are a member of that community? So there's one option right there. And then add other clients that you've worked with in the past. So have you done some consulting for Microsoft? Can you add their logo to your website? Have you made some flowers for Google, or whoever. Put your clients you've worked with in the past on your website. And then try to add some impressive numbers to your website. It might be hard to see, but 120 clients served, over 120 clients served, over 790 SEO reports, or over 30 websites built. So what impressive numbers can you put on your website that makes you stand out? So show off your EAT to Google, to your website visitors and Google. So always be thinking about how you can improve your EAT. Then another way that Google judges your website is usability. And Winston's going to be taking it from here.
All right, so if you're kind of understanding what's going on, you have a website, and the question is, well, how are you bringing people to the website? And Connor's really hit two really important ways to do that. Now we're going to get down into, once people can kind of find your website, once they get on the page, that user experience is really going to either help you or hinder you moving forward, building that SEO equity for your website. And when we're talking about user experience, the first thing is the bounce rate. So if you have someone who searches for a service and they see your website, they click on it, but they immediately leave. And that keeps happening over and over. That's not a good indication. And Google will be worried. They're like, why do people keep coming to the site and leaving immediately? And they'll be less inclined to show your website. So it's really important, kind of what we touched on before with the 5-second rule, how you can design that website, because that all goes into the SEO. So we want to keep the bounce rate low. And another way is to create engaging and helpful content. This can be in the form that we'll talk about a little further later, but if you're creating things that help people, say blog posts or service pages with details in it, those people that come to your page are going to be more likely to share that information. They're going to be, if they have websites themselves, they're going to be more likely to link that article on their website, and that's huge. That really expands your opportunity to get your website out there. So creating really engaging and helpful content. This example right here, hard to see, but this is a company, Copy Hackers. This is just a Google search. They have how to write engaging content. Writing emails for money. Can you make a living doing this? Tone of voice 101, how to write copy that people can use to sell. This is all useful content and it's free. And this website does really well. They have a lot of backlinks, meaning there's a lot of other websites that link to this Copy Hackers website. So that's important to realize, creating that helpful and engaging content. Here's another thing to think about and be very mindful of. Mobile responsive design. How does your website look on a tablet or a phone? This is really important. At least 50% these days of people are pulling things up on their phones. Don't quote me on that. The numbers are somewhere around that. But you want to make sure that your website looks great on mobile design. And we've created there's some technical things in this slide that'll help you if you have the slide that you can reference later. But you can always check how your phone looks on your phone. But maybe you have a Samsung and you want to see how it looks on an iPhone. Maybe you have an iPhone, you want to see how it looks on a tablet. Well, one way to do that, we have on these slides here, you can actually go into the developer mode on your browser, and you can check different size screens for mobile devices right in your browser. So usability. Internal linking. Oh, yeah, that concludes the usability. Now we're on to the internal linking. And we're going to talk about internal links. Internal links are really big for SEO. It really helps. Every page you care about should have a link from at least one other page on your site. That's a quote from the Google developers page, so straight from Google. So it's really important to have internal links on your website. And internal links, to be specific, are links on a page that will take you to a different page within your website. There's two things to take into consideration when we're dealing with internal links. The first are users. We want to give users a real fluid experience. This is how you funnel them to your product pages, your service pages. So we want to think of users first and foremost, but we also want to keep in mind search engines, right? Google is going to crawl your website. And one way you can tell Google, you can make more clear what your website is about, is by internal linking. If you have a lot of links on your website pointing to one page in particular, Google's going to crawl and they're going to notice, wow, this must be an important page on this website. So you're taking into consideration both the user experience, so your users, but also internal links are there to help Google understand the hierarchy of your website. And there's two types of internal links we'll cover today. The first one is navigational links. These are buttons on your page. Header menu. So all those menu buttons, when you click down and you drop down and you see all those menu buttons, those are navigational links. Same with the footer menu. Those are navigational links. The second type is contextual links. So these are links that are within the body of the text, say on your service pages or blog posts, articles. These are links that are embedded into the text paragraphs themselves. And normally they show up as an alternative color link and usually have some type of hover. If you hover over it with your mouse, it does interactive, it glows, it changes colors. This lets people know that that's a link and they can click on it. And this will take them to certain pages on your website. So we're going to expand upon those contextual links a little bit. And we're going to talk about anchor text. Anchor text is the text that you use in the contextual links. So these are the terms that we use. If I go back a slide, this how to generate leads on Facebook, that's anchor text. That's important. We can use keywords. This is what Google's going to crawl, and they're going to look at that sentence there, and they're going to go, oh, we know what this link that it's pointing to is all about. Also users. Users are going to understand what that link is pointing to. So we want to be specific when we're using anchor text. And we want to avoid using generic terms like click here, read now. This is popular. You'll see this on a lot of sites. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but if you can, be very specific on the terms you're using. Here's an example. This says this article. That doesn't tell Google much, and it doesn't tell your users that much, other than it's an article. And just a little side note, if you're thinking that internal linking is really going to bolster your SEO equity, be careful. You don't want to go overboard. You don't want to have 100 internal links on one page, just because it will dilute. This is a little more technical, but it will dilute the SEO equity of that page if you have a bunch of internal links. You normally don't have to worry about this, but I just wanted to keep that in there just as a note to be aware of. All right, that concludes internal linking. Next, we're going to talk about keywords. Now it's going to get a little more technical, but follow me on this. Keywords are extremely important. So keywords are the search terms or words that people are using to find information online. These are the terms that people are typing into Google search, and they've typed in so much that there are different, there's a, let's see, for instance, mechanic near me, this is a keyword, multiple words, but this is a keyword, and it has a bit over 1 billion search returns. So we're trying to understand why keywords research is important. It can improve your search engine rankings and drive more traffic to your website. And it helps to understand the language and intent of your target audience. So here's an example. What is the closest mechanic to me? Notice that's a different phrase than mechanic near me. This has nearly half the amount of search returns. So this can give you an idea of what your audience is searching for, what terms they're using. And what you're going to do, the better you're able to predict the search terms that your target audience is using, the more you can add those terms onto your website and have a higher chance that Google will match your website to those searches. So it's really useful to understand with user intent in mind what keywords are popular. Here's another reason why keyword research is important. It reveals the competitive market that you're up against. So with this example here, these are screenshots from a tool that's used to specifically research keywords. It's Ahrefs. But on here, mechanic near me, high volume. A lot of people are searching that, obviously. We see here that 68, that references, this is a very difficult and competitive keyword. However, if we get a little more specific, Honda mechanic near me, it's a far less competitive keyword, far less competitive. So understanding your business, your target audience, and how you can specify your services might just help you reduce the competitive nature and the difficulty of those keywords out there. So again, it's kind of technical, getting these keywords, but it's really important for SEO. It's really important to compete with your competition out there online. All right, now it comes down to how to conduct keyword research. Honestly, you're going to have to invest time and or money in the ways that you try to find these keywords. And we're going to offer a couple free solutions, but right off the bat, Google Keyword Planner. If you have a Google Ads account, which is free to sign up for, you can use Google Keyword Planner to find keywords. There's a lot of resources on YouTube that can help you with this, but that's a free option for keyword research. Keywords everywhere, that's another option. There's limitations on how many times you can search in a month, but that's another one that's very popular, and there's a lot of resources out there. And of course, we can't say it enough, but we're here to also offer services. Make sure you sign up on that. It's kind of made its rounds, it's on that table, but sign up if you haven't and you want one-on-one help. We have a couple of paid options, Ahrefs, SEMrush. These are quite expensive. We're talking in the hundreds of dollars per monthly, and you can also hire a professional. And one of the benefits of hiring a professional is that they're going to have these tools that they're already spending money on, so it's going to end up most likely saving you time in the long run. So there's that option too. Now here's some free ways. Here are some free ways that you can do keyword research just on your own. And this is actually how I started doing keyword research before I had any access to these tools. So the first way, brainstorm a list of relevant topics that's specific to your niche or your products, your services, your business, your target audience. Then you're going to take that and you're going to search those terms in Google. You're going to see how many search returns show up, and you're just going to test. And you're going to see if you can make more specified. First, you want to just make sure that the terms you're searching for are even returning a result. Is it too obscure? So this will help you just to kind of better understand and brainstorm keyword ideas. But here's another good one. This one's way, way better. You want to go on your competitors' websites. You want to check out their headings, what they're using in their headings. They're probably using keywords. All right, so you have this list of keywords, this packet. Maybe you hired a professional and they gave you some. This is a way, here's some tips that you can use to implement those keywords on your website. First, just understand that Google crawls your website and they're going to take things into consideration and rank importance in some hierarchical manner. So headers, they're going to think that your headers are very important. So they're going to put some weight on your headers for how much Google's understanding these keywords. So we want to have headers, your headings, H1s, H2s, these headings, we want to have keywords in those. We also have anchor text, which remember, that's the terminology that you have internal links or on your buttons. Google actually takes into account your anchor text. So we can add keywords to your anchor text, and also your images. Take the time to add a title to your images. Take the time. And there's something called alt text. This is what screen readers will read off to people who are visually impaired. Alt text actually has a bit of SEO equity as well. So if you take your keywords, you can put it in your alt text. Now, to be specific of what alt text is, you want to describe what's on the image. So the alt text to this would be a white moving truck. Now, if you want to add a keyword into that, it's a white local moving truck. All right, and the meta titles and descriptions. We kind of talked about this briefly, but your meta title and description, when you search Google, this is what comes up. This is what pops up. And this is pretty important to SEO. This is pretty important if you want to inspire people to click on your website, because if you've ever searched Google, it's nonstop. You're going to see these for days. You can endless scrolling. So this is how this is your billboard. This is how you're going to inspire people to click on your website rather than your competitors. So make sure you fill it with user benefit terminology, put those keywords in there, and that'll help you out. All right, since we're all here and you've made it this far and you've sat through all this, we're gonna have a little, we're gonna allow you to find some keywords on your own using this free tool. You might have to come closer to scan this. Maybe you can zoom in with your phone. It's answerthepublic.com. But essentially, this is a nice tool to understand what people are asking around your product, your service, your business, industry niche. It's free. It's free, yeah. Now, I'll give everyone an opportunity before I click off this page. But essentially, it's going to ask you this question. Enter a topic, brand, or product. So you can type in 1 to 3 sentences. I'll give you an example here. So we typed in here, Arabic translation service. So we added that. So if you have a business in mind, or if you have a business, type in something that's related to your services. And then you should, after you do that, I'll give you some time, there's no rush. Go ahead and take your time and think of it. But you'll get this wheel here. And on that wheel, there'll be specific terms, questions. And it's really beautiful because what they're doing is they're taking your keywords that you have and they're phrasing it in ways that have a high volume search traffic. If you want to download the image, it will want you to sign up with your email. It's still free, but if you want to screenshot your image, you don't have to sign up. So it's totally optional, but this is one way, a free way to find keywords. And a lot of these questions that pop up are ones that you can implement in your headers on your website. Are translation services taxable? That's good to just have in mind. Maybe we didn't even know, oh, that's a good service page I can create. Because people are asking about that, and that's a way I can create helpful and engaging content. And then possibly if it's written well, people stumble upon it and perhaps people share it and you get those backlinks. So all SEO builds on each other, and it's a slow process, but it's essential if you want to bring people to your website. All right, so that was keywords. And we're going to touch on building out service and product pages. So service or product page, we all usually know what product pages are, right? If you're selling art, they're your individual art pieces that you're selling. If you have services you're offering, you're basically selling that service on this unique page. These are helpful for improving search engine rankings. This is a way you can add external links on the page. And external links, without getting too far into it, if you add an external link to a .gov website, for instance, Google sees that and it gives a little credibility to that page. And Google's all about credibility, as we know. Another way that product and service pages are useful is it allows you to sell yourself, your product and service. So not only are you helping someone with useful content, but this is a way that you can differentiate from competition. And if you're implementing those steps that we covered before, especially the EAT, right? Demonstrating EAT. What's your experience? How many years have you been doing this? Are there people that you've worked with that are well-known companies, brands that you can add to your website? Everything that we showed you before about that home page, you can implement those steps onto these service and product pages. And don't forget, call to action. Have those buttons standing out. Use that anchor text. It all comes together. Here's a specific example of a service page. This is block beta marketing. It's tough to see, but if we click on here, drop-down menu, it says services. If we click that, here's a service page. I don't see any images. It's good to add images. You want to have it engaging and fun. But on here, we see strategic marketing for small to medium businesses. The same rules apply. That 5-second rule. Let the people know what's on this page as quickly in that header as you can. Contextual links, internal links. And of course, there's many other ways. There's many other ways to implement SEO tactics.
And now we're going to go into Q&A, but speaking of those many other SEO tactics and methods, remember you can do a one-on-one session with us and we can go onto your website live and we can point out maybe areas for improvement. So please sign up for that, or if you just need help brainstorming some ideas for your potential web page, let us know. So, I know we're kind of short on time here, but hopefully we can get a couple questions answered. Does anyone have any questions? Yes? All right, cool. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Well, if you look at our website, we have Eat on there. So we have been doing this for 8 years. The question was, how can they trust us? So that's good. That's really good. And now you have me sort of scrambling here to think of anything good. Yeah, testimonials. We have quite a few testimonials. We worked with a lot of companies. And a lot of this resources are free to you. So there's really no huge benefit in terms of we're getting paid by taxpayers, basically. So there's very little risk to you to reach out and get additional help. And then you can maybe find out if we are any good. But thank you. That was. Anyone else? All right. Well, cool. If you have any more questions, please reach out to us. We have a few business cards up here. Sign up. Let's see. And please take this survey. This lets the people from the foundation know how we are doing. So let them know if we did bad or if we did good. And if there's any feedback, we're always looking to make things better. So if you weren't clear on something or went too fast, please let us know. I'll come back to that here in a moment so you can scan that. This is back to the original slide here. Thank you, Cody, for adding that back on there. And then here's the sort of promo here. So Wednesday through Sunday, 5 p.m. through 8 p.m. for getting more information here. All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time today, and we hope you can walk away with a few things. Sure. No more handouts, but there is the sign-up sheet.